Hi, my name's Noelle Smith, and I read an article about a Lancaster County woman that was charged with child abuse. Her name is Elisa Bingham, and she's a 19-year-old mother of a 5-month-old son and a 3-year-old son. She tried to blame her 5-month-old injuries on her 3-year-old, but later stated that something could have happened when she was sleep deprived. The 5-month-old was taken to UMPC Hospital in Lidditz on March 3rd by his father, in which they found injuries such as a bruised eye, dehydration, fever, and a broken femur. Later, the 5-month-old was examined further by a child abuse specialist who noted the femur being broken, as well as brought up a 2 to 4 week old shin fracture and 4 buckle fractures to his knees. The specialist also confirmed that the injuries had to have come from an adult twisting the leg rather than from a 3-year-old dropping him, like the parents tried to say originally. Some things that could be making our society more tolerant to violence could, for this specific case, I think that her age, her standard of living, possibly the money that she's making or the amount of help that she has from her family could influence the way people look at the situation, possibly giving her the benefit of the doubt rather than addressing the situation head on like it should be. As far as the media goes, I feel like specifically the media in Lancaster tries to steer away from paying too much attention to the bad media. I read so many articles about this exact situation about Elisa and her children, and they were almost all word for word the same, which I thought was pretty interesting. They all stated what had happened, but they didn't state why it could have happened or what solutions could have been made. They didn't really give background information on her life or anything like that. Because these articles were so sparse in the information that they gave, it was really hard for me to put a theory to it. So I went through and I picked a couple theories that I thought would fit the situation. My first theory was the frustration aggression theory. It states that when a goal is blocked, the way that the frustration is being shown would be through abuse. So I think that maybe if her goal was needing more sleep and her child wasn't letting her sleep, that could have caused some abuse and aggression towards the baby. Another model that I picked rather than theory that was stated in the book was called the environmental sociological cultural model, which pretty much is a model of multiple different theories. And it talks about how the stress in the society can be a cause of abuse. So environmental for this situation specifically could be lack of education, living in poverty, or work stress. We don't know her exact situation, but a few things throughout the article hinted to possible work stress. They mentioned she was on her way out to work while the father was coming back in. They didn't mention her living situation, but being so young and having 2 children, I could see that the situation could possibly be hard. Another part of that model was the sociological, and the biggest part that I noticed in that was it was talking about the lack of parenting knowledge. I think that maybe her age played a role in the knowledge of parenting and parenting skills. Either maybe nobody helped her learn about parenting skills, or maybe she didn't want to listen to any advice or anything like that. My last theory is the personalistic theory, which just addresses possible personality issues causing harm or violence to children. which I think this could play a case in any abuse. Just personality issues, knowing that abuse isn't okay and still abusing, I think that that definitely plays a role. Some recommendations that I personally would make for addressing this subject is thinking about the media. I feel like they should not shy away from discussing abuse in the area. I feel like they should be posting all facts about it all the time. I think it should be in the media a lot, because I think the more that people have to think about it, the more they would think about their own actions before doing something. I also think that the media could, after any abuse article or anything like that, could post a list of the helplines for parents or for anybody that notices abuse for children. They could easily end their article with a whole list of helpline numbers. As far as resources go for that fix, no new resources would be needed. The media would just do like they normally do and make people aware of what's going on. I think that they steer away from this because they don't want the local areas to sound like bad places to live or to visit, but I think it's important for anybody that lives locally to understand what's going on and how they can help or prevent what's going on. Another recommendation that I would make is that parents should be required to learn more about parenting skills. Also, they should be required to learn more about what child abuse is and child neglect is, because sometimes I feel like people don't know exactly all the forms of abuse that could be happening in a family to a child. As far as like learning more information, the parents learning more information, I think hospitals would be a great place for this. Before you leave the hospital with your baby, they could give you books, pamphlets. They could require you to take classes before you leave the hospital about child abuse, child neglect, or parenting skills and things like that. I think some challenges for that would be maybe getting maybe doing mandatory postings. Like, people might not want to do it, but if you make it mandatory, it could really help out and cause people to take it a little more seriously. For me, working in the biology field, I want to go towards the medical route, so I could be working with infants to elderly. And what I've learned from this class is that I know how to peg a victim or an abuser, and I also learned all the helplines that you can call, and from learning this, I myself can also tell people about these helplines. As far as the assignment challenges for me, it was just hard to find an article that was long enough for me to get enough information from to talk about. Like I said, the articles were so standard, so small, nothing could really, it was really hard for me to talk about any theories or really go in depth about them because of the lack of information from the articles.